Hello, and welcome back to our weekday Facebook video posts. Last week, we were exploring the path factor of wise view, and specifically wise view into the Four Noble Truths. And today, I'd like to recap the Noble Truths and specifically their relationship to each other, because they don't just exist kind of independently. These four things weave together into kind of like one solid teaching. The first noble truth of dukkha is to be experienced. And of course, with this COVID-19 pandemic, we are experiencing that. We're experiencing specifically the vulnerability aspect of dukkha. Yeah, that anything can happen at any time in this world, that's this universe that's dominated by change and by dependent co-arising, conditions arising and passing away, dependent on all other conditions that are doing the same thing. So it's not possible for us to have ultimate control in such a realm. So the Buddha said that is to be experienced. Why? Is that because Buddhism is, masochistic? No, it's because the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, craving, arises dependent on the ignorance of dukkha. So these first and two second noble truths are really tied together. The Buddha said experience dukkha because when to the degree that dukkha is experienced, then craving is let go of, because we see that, it's suffering. And therefore, when we see it, when we feel the hand on the hot stove, it pulls back. If we didn't feel it, if we didn't experience that suffering, we wouldn't pull back. So the first noble truth of dukkha is to be experienced. The second noble truth of craving is to be abandoned, let go. Let go of the mind that wants and doesn't want, that demands life to be different. The third noble truth, the noble truth of nibbana, the ending of craving, is to be realized. And this is, we spent a couple days last week talking about that. We want to realize it when it's happening. So instead of seeing Nibbana as something far off into the future, some big, huge event that will maybe happen to someone else, and if it ever does happen to me, it will be, a million lifetimes from now. So that, with that view, we're going to miss all the tiny Nibbana moments that happen, the moments where craving is not in the mind. But if we can really take the Buddha's instructions to heart, Nibbana is to be realized. So when the mind is free of wanting and not wanting, which it is all the time, usually for short moments, but it happens a lot, we want to realize that. We want to be fully present for it. And this, of course, will strengthen it. And then the fourth noble truth, which is interesting, of course, is the Noble Eightfold Path. Well, how do we do this? How do we more and more realize Nibbana? How do we more and more or let go of craving? How do we experience dukkha? Just by this Noble Eightfold Path. And I want to point out the beauty in the teachings that the first path factor of the Noble Eightfold Path is wise view. And by definition, at least supramundane wise view is wise view into the Four Noble Truths. So that Noble Eightfold Path has the Four Noble Truths embedded in it. And then, of course, the Four Noble Truths has the Noble Eightfold Path embedded in it, in the fourth noble truth. So these two, the Noble Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths, are really, really connected. So that's the overview of kind of what we did last week. Let's go into some formal practice now and see how we might discern these different truths right in our own experience as it's happening. And settling into your body in whatever position it's going to be in, however, whether standing, sitting, lying down, walking, doesn't matter. What matters is that we start to let the attention become embodied. We start to feel the body, experience somatically the body. And perhaps already the mind may have wandered away. And then when you wake up to that, maybe my voice brought you back. And one thing you can see there is a form of dukkha where we're not completely in control. We sit down with the intention to stay present, but conditions being as they are, the mind can wander off, and we're not fully in control of that. So instead of berating oneself when you come back from being lost in thought, you can just say, oh, look at that. There's an example of dukkha. Experiencing the vulnerability aspect or the non-control aspect of dukkha. Or if my voice has just kind of brought you back from being lost in thought again, perhaps you notice a little kind of contraction or like, oh darn, the mind wandered again. And then noticing that, oh, craving. The mind that wants things to be different than they are. The mind wandered, but oh, we wish it hadn't wandered. And we feel the suffering of that, of wishing that things were different than they are. We get a chance to see the connection between the first and the second noble truths. And sitting here quietly, connecting with the sensations of body, of breath. Maybe for a moment or two or three, the attention does stay present, just rests with the experience, the embodied experience of body sitting and body breathing. And for those moments, we recognize, we realize the mind that's free from craving. Not needing things to be different than they are, just for this moment, just for this breath. realizing nibbana, realizing moments of non-craving, of non-clinging. It can be helpful to continue to relax the body, which helps kind of give the mind the intention, or inviting the mind to also relax, letting go. Second noble truth of craving is to be let go of, to be abandoned. And we can help train the mind with the body by continuing to let go with the body. One of the really great things about this spiritual path is that as long as there's mindfulness, there's no doing it wrong. So one notices, becomes aware of craving in the mind, and then feels the contraction, the agitation that comes with that. It's like, oh, look, there's craving. Look, there's the suffering that it causes. So instead of thinking that we're a bad yogi because of that, it's just, as I was talking about in some of the posts last week, it's called purification practice. It's where we clearly see how it is that suffering arises, and what gives rise to it. And then at other times, the craving is absent, whether we're doing the formal practice or just going about our lives. And again, we're mindful, we're aware of that experience of the lack of wanting and not wanting in the mind. And we experience that. Oh, that's the purity part of the practice. Just equal with purification, not better. Both are onward leading. As you go through your day, you can just, when you remember, when there's sati, when you remember what stage am I in of practice right now? Is the mind free from craving, or is craving present? And just to notice and either one, again, as long as it's noticed, is onward leading. So it's very interesting and kind of like a relief, like, oh, I can't do this wrong. There's no way to do this practice wrong, as long as I'm aware of what's happening. So enjoy that in your practice today. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, where we're going to move on to the next path factor, that is of wise intention. So I wish you well today, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.